All right. Welcome to the first meeting of October of the Rotary Club of Des Moines. This is week number how many? 10. Skeet Wooten has it correct. 10 weeks in a row we've been in person now at the Wakanda Club. I'm President Doug Saltzgaver. We're glad to have all of you here at the Wakanda Club with us. And those of you out in cyberspace watching on our YouTube streaming channel, or those of you watching later on YouTube. And again, thanks to Invictus for filming our meeting today. I'm not wearing my mask while at the podium, so you can hear me more clearly. And since I'm safely distanced from you, even though I've been told by a number of people I'm much better looking when I do wear my mask. And of course, we'll be sanitizing the microphone between speakers. We do ask that you keep your mask on while not eating or drinking or speaking up here at the podium. I will now ask Jackie Norris to share a moment of inspiration, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, and of course, our four-way test. Jackie.
Hi, Theresa. Thanks. Touch it. Okay, so hi, everybody. Hi, Jackie. I rarely lack words, and I really struggled when I realized I was up for the moment of inspiration. And because I don't know about you, but this has been a tough couple of weeks. Maybe even a tough couple of months. And as we head into the political season, it's obviously starting to heat up even more. Lots of anger. These are my feelings. I'm feeling angry. I'm feeling frustrated. I'm feeling disappointed. I'm feeling like I want solutions. And as I thought about a call to action for all of us, we have two choices. Number one, we walk away. We just throw up our hands and say, we're done. Or number two, we roll up our sleeves and we get involved. So my moment of inspiration today is to ask all of you to be civic actors for the next 33 days. And that can look lots of different ways. It can be that you are rolling up your sleeves for a political candidate or for a political party. It can also mean that you're rolling up your sleeves for democracy. And I say this with all sincerity, pulling off an election during a pandemic is very difficult. And we heard from Paul Pate, actually, that was last week. It is no small feat. And so I encourage all of you to find some way to connect to our democracy, because it is the most beautiful thing about this country, even when we're feeling a little bit angry and a little bit frustrated. So with that, go get them. Go be a civic actor, 33 days until Election Day. And we'll turn and we'll say the Pledge of Allegiance together. Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now the four-way test. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? And will it be beneficial to all concerned? Now wave at each other and say hello.
Thank you, Jackie. We would now like to wish happy birthday to Ashley Hemphill and President-elect Catherine Staub. Neither of them could be with us here today as they were off celebrating their birthday like it's 1999. And I'm being heckled by the audience here for those of you out in cyberspace. Now that it's fall, chilly weather is on its way again. Our Operation Coat Drive is starting to help keep kids warm. There is a sign-up sheet on your table for you to donate, $20 to buy one coat. We'll bill your account. You can also email Kitty at the Rotary office to sign up and pledge to buy a coat, or 2, or 20 if you see fit. Our goal is to raise $6,000 to purchase 300 coats. We are currently at $1,380. We've got a ways to go. Thank you to those who've already pledged. The deadline is coming up quickly, October 15th, to buy a coat for a kid. The coats will be distributed to Orchard Place and to Child Serve Children. So if you haven't donated already, please do so. And even if you have donated, maybe donate again. So, Kitty, why don't you put me down for 2 more? So we'll keep this thing moving. All right. Jackie Norris will introduce our keynote speaker today. Sorry to say, Theresa Greenfield was unable to join us today in person, so she is joining us by Skype. If there's time for questions, we'll have you come up to the microphone as you typically do here, and to the laptop. And the microphone will be sanitized between speakers. So when you're standing there in front of the laptop, Theresa Greenfield will be able to see you, as Kitty's waving at her right now, and Theresa's waving back. So technology is currently working. Not that Kitty was ever concerned about that this week. So with that, Jackie, you're up again.
You know, I have to be careful on this one because this is a non-endorsement introduction. With that being said, I do have to say I'm super excited to introduce Theresa Greenfield to speak to us today. She happens to be a neighbor. She happens to be a friend. She is running she's running against Joni Ernst, who is the sitting senator. And I know we're going to be hearing from Joni Ernst as well. What I love about Rotary is that we think it's really important to offer perspectives. So you'll be hearing from both candidates and able to ask questions of both of them. I look forward to hearing from Theresa. I know she's going to share with you her vision for the state and what she brings to the United States Senate. And I would say for those of you who live in the neighborhood, and it's funny because actually there's several of us who live in the same neighborhood, she's often out walking and doing her politics and talking about issues. You've got a great, energetic person here in Theresa Greenfield. And so I'm going to turn it over to you to share your vision of this great state and the future. Thanks, Theresa.
All right. Well, thank you, Jackie. And thank you, Doug. Thank you, Kitty. Thank you for the Rotary Club of Moines for the opportunity to join you today. Thank you for letting me Skype in. Given the schedule today, but I'm really thrilled to be here and make some introductions. I know I've met many of you in the room, and I look forward to meeting all of you personally at some point in time. I want to tell you a little bit about me, certainly tell you a little bit about some of my plans. But I'm really looking forward to our conversation because as I travel the state, listening and learning, that's the best way I'm going to lead. And so I look forward to that part of today's event, probably the very most. For those of you who haven't met me, or I haven't had a chance to meet you, I'm a businesswoman. I've worked most of my career in small businesses, from being walk and cruise on the farm, working my way up to being the president of a commercial real estate company, most recently, a small business where we have 8 employees, and I'll tell you, those employees become like family, that's for sure. I'm a mother of 4, I'm a military mom, and frankly, my husband Steve and I, we love being empty nesters. That's where we're at right now, and it is a great thing. I'm also a farm kid, and a real scrappy farm kid at that. I grew up as part of the farm crisis, and I got in this race to put Iowans first and to really fight for hardworking Iowans at that. On the Greenfield farm, my dad said there's no poor jobs and there's no full jobs. There's just jobs that need to get done. That's how I was raised. That's how I look at jobs. And I think we need to get some jobs done in Washington. And it's part of what motivated me to get in this fight. I know we are in tough times right now. I hope you are all doing well and staying healthy, whether it's the pandemic, derecho. I know in farm country, bankruptcy rates are 8-year high. I know that both here in Iowa and across the country, we're struggling with high unemployment. These are tough times. I've talked to so many small businesses, in particular, whether they're bowling alleys or breweries and everything in between. Their revenues are down 60%. And many of them have told me they're not sure they're still going to have their lights on after the new year. I really think right now it's going to be one of the most consequential times in our life because of this pandemic and economic crisis. And I have to tell you, I really understand how these options are going. I've been there, and I'm in them with you. Not only did I grow up during that farm crisis where my family just lost it all, but I went to auctions where families did lose it all, and the contents from their homes were put in cardboard boxes and on hay racks. I have a lot of concern about our farm economy. I'm not a scrappy farm kid. I put myself through college. I'm a product of community college in particular. And I've been knocked down a few times. I was widowed at the age of 24 and had to work hard to rebuild a life with the help of Social Security and get back to my feet and provide for the boys and I. I went back to college. I studied community planning. I worked for about 14 years at the city planning. I loved it all. About 3 nights a week with neighborhood groups, planning commissions, city council, town boards, name it. What to learn after about 14 years of doing that was those potholes in the middle of the street. They're not Republican potholes and they're not Democratic potholes. They're potholes that need to be fixed, they're problems that need to be solved. And I really believe Washington needs to work a lot more like our hometowns, where we come together to solve problems. And I'll tell you, after 250 campaign events so far, over that actually, around this state, that I hear is Iowans want the divisiveness to end. They want it to end. They want us to work together and focus on the things that we need to take care of here in our state and our country. And I think about it a lot like being a community plant. We've got to solve problems like we do in hometown. And so I want you to know that I'm going to work with anybody or stand up to anybody to help get through this pandemic, to recover from the economic crisis, to expand healthcare for all of us, have more good paying jobs, and to make sure that we get Iowa back on its feet. Now, to that end, just this week, I released my economic plans. I call it Back on Feet, really focusing on the recovery I just talked about and building a bright future for our state and for our country. It really has 3 major components. And the first is really the crisis in front of us, how we move forward through this pandemic and economic crisis. I think it starts with 3 things. One, we have to focus on our public health and our public safety. We have to invest and make sure that we have PPE and testing and tracing. We need emergency protection standards so every business can open safely, so schools can open safely, so we can get back to football games and concerts. I know I want to do all of that. We got to put our workers first, because if we don't have a healthy workforce, our businesses can't operate. And so we need to make sure they have paid sick leave, that will extend unemployment benefits. Again, we have the highest unemployment in this country since the Great Depression. We need to be taking care of that workforce. And we need emergency temporary standards for them too, so they can work safely. And then we have to focus on our economy ever. And right now we have a crisis. We need to have more PPP for our businesses. I particularly call them small businesses because Iowa, we're a state of small towns and small businesses. That's what we do best. Half our workers work in small businesses, and certainly that's where I've spent my life. We need direct payment for families, and we need some relief, direct many of our local governments and probably our state too. I've had the opportunity to talk to leaders across the state, and so many of them are really worried about their budgets. And that's our first responders, our sanitation workers. They keep our community running and smoothly to make sure we have those services. Next, everywhere I go, the number one topic I hear about is healthcare. It's costs, it's premiums, it's deductibles, it's mental health care, addiction care, health care, being gouged for drug policy. So we have to work hard to make sure that high quality, affordable, and accessible health care for everyone. And for me, that means expanding and enhancing the Affordable Care Act, building that public document, and requiring that Medicare negotiate to bring down drug costs, putting a few extra bucks in our senior citizens, and of course, saving us taxpayers about $5 billion. That is fantastic and something we need to do. And next, we have to protect the hard-earned benefits that we've all worked so hard for, those promises we made to one another. And this is personal. We have to protect and sustain Social Security and Medicare. I will tell you, as a young widow, I didn't know how I was going to pay the bills. And it was Social Security that me and my two boys gave us that chance to start over, pay the rent, put some groceries in the refrigerator. And I want grannies all over the state to know I certainly am going to be working hard to sustain Social Security for generations to come. I want to close by telling you it is an honor to be running for the United States Senate. It will be an honor to serve you as your next senator. I look forward to it. And I want to leave you with just one last story. After my first husband died, I went back to college. I got my very first job. It was for $8 an hour. I'll never forget it. I'll never forget getting that paycheck. Because it wasn't just the paycheck I got. I got my dignity back. I got back on the path of fighting for my family. And I know hardworking Iowans are struggling right now. They want to get back on that path also. And so here's my promise to you. I'm never going to forget who I am, where I'm from, and who I'm fighting for. I got in this fight to find the first, and that's the fight I'm going to take to Washington on your behalf. And I am grateful to have the chance to introduce myself, and I really look forward to the conversation. I hope you all are well. And Kitty, I don't know where to go from here. Okay. I'm assuming there'll be questions.
Theresa Greenfield is a Hal Chase, and retired banker and primarily history professor at DMAC. So I was glad to hear your comments about community college. I think it was wonderful. My question is just simple. Where can I get one of your yard signs?
Kitty, I can't hear anything. There you go.
There we go.
There we go. Apologize.
Sorry. I'll repeat it. Name is Hal Chase, retired history professor at DMAC, and also banking. My question is simple. Where can I get one of your yard signs?
Well, Hal, thank you for asking that question. One, of course, we have distributed yard signs around the state, and if you know your county chair, you can contact them, but I can make it even easier. You can go out to greenfieldforiowa.com. You can go to our store, and if you live in Iowa, we will ship you up to 10 yard signs for free. For free. Sign up.
Thanks very much.
Thanks, Hal.
Good afternoon, Theresa. I'm Dick Lozier, a former lawyer and currently serving on the Iowa Utilities Board. And last Tuesday, 2 days ago, we had an and exercised in civility in the presidential debate. And I'd like to ask you how you can help to restore civil discourse in the political arena in Washington and across the country.
Dick, thank you for that question. And I think it gets directly to the comments I hear as I travel the state about divisiveness. I got to tell you, I was up in Dickinson County, Northwest Iowa, for a meeting, Little Milford. And there were a number of people that came that evening. But one in particular was a gentleman who told me he was a Republican. And I said, oh, Gal, thanks for coming out, right? I work with a lot of Republicans. They're my friends and neighbors, too. And he asked for the exact same thing. He said, I am looking for a candidate that will work hard to end that divisiveness and restore a civil discord. I will tell you, I think Iowans are independent thinkers, and I think they're independent voters. And I go out and introduce myself. At least I make that effort in a real respectful manner. I want to listen to them. I want to learn from them. I don't want to assume that we disagree because we have a D or an R behind our name. And I will never forget the lessons of being a community planner, where we worked on projects, and the projects that failed were the ones where we did not work hard enough with all the stakeholders to keep them at the table to understand how we could move forward. And the ones that were successful were the ones that really embraced probably the folks that we thought might be the most different. And so that's a value that I'm taking with me. And I think one by one, if we elect leaders that honor that and believe it is an honor to serve and serve our democracy first, serve our country first, serve our state, all Iowans, I think we'll get headed back in that direction. I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, okay, great. Hi, Theresa. Hello. I have two.
I can't hear you, Jackie.
Oh, is that better?
I think she's got to turn the mic back on. Got it.
Interesting. Hi, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Okay. So I have two questions. One is a hard one, just to forewarn you. I know we didn't plan this at all. I'm just, as you obviously are focused on winning, but great leaders think not just about winning, but then what's next. And so I'm curious, as you think about solutions to not necessarily the pandemic, but the impacts of the pandemic, what do you think that the Senate, what do you think that the Congress, how do you attack a problem that's so multifaceted? So maybe just kind of muse on that. And then the second thing is, I'm a big believer that people want to know even more about their candidates. So just tell us a story, something interesting. Maybe it's your favorite food or what kind of music you listen to, but just tell us something that you think not everybody knows.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll do the tough one first and the fun one second. Okay, let's start with that. Well, absolutely. I got in this race to win it. It is, again, an honor to be running. It's serious work, and I didn't enter into this responsibility lightly, that's for sure. The pandemic came about, of course, in the middle of this campaign. I will tell you, we all know that times change, things are going to happen, and great leaders meet those tough times. For me, I think when I am seated in 2021, I think we're still going to have a crisis on our hand, and we're going to need to tackle it with a number of two fronts, probably the most. One, restoring faith and trust in our public health system, and making sure we're elevating that public health message across this country and in our state, and it is unified, and we are investing in it as a way to control this contagion, but also be preparing for the future. Number two, we have an economic crisis because of it, and we have to get to work solving that. Now, I will tell you there's one thing that puts a few elbows to both sides of the aisle on, and that is the lack of a robust infrastructure plan. We need bridges We have 50th nation civility here in Iowa. We need that investment. We're not Republican bridges, we're not Democratic bridges, we're Republican bridges. We need broad internet. We need everything in between. And we need it not only for Iowans and our country, but we need it to compete across the globe. And I want to make that investment. It's also a way to put people back to work while we, of course, are making those investments. So thinking about that as a clear path, and that's a win, win, win for all of us. A couple of fun things about me. I'm going to start with two. The first is kind of boring, but it's true. I love sitting by a warm fire every night in the winter. But of course, to do that, you got to have a lot of wood. And while the derecho has been devastating and it was a brutal storm, it did provide a lot of wood. And I love to chop wood. And if you come past my house, you'll see the big pile that my husband and I have been working on to create more wood for our wood fire. So we've been making lemonade out of those lemons. And second, I'm a twin. And maybe you saw the ad about the twin. That's great. But here's a funny story. I was walking in our neighborhood. I came across the neighbor who knows me, and we commented about our dogs, the day, the weather. And as we got past, she stopped and she said to me, "Are you Theresa Greenfield?" I said, "No." And I said her name. "I'm Theresa Greenfield." So that's been kind of fun. Thanks, Jackie.
Theresa, I'm David Oman, and I'm one of the people in the room today who live in your neighborhood. And I think we've seen each other walking a time or two. I hope to meet you sometime. And first of all, I want to thank you for running. Some of us in the room have run for office before, and we know how hard it is, and we know particularly how hard it is on families. So across party lines, thank you for the sacrifice that you make in running. By running. Rotary is an international organization. This club is part of thousands of clubs who meet weekly all over the world. And more important to me than my party affiliation is the concern I have for national security. I try to read all I can about it, learn from history, and understand the challenges that we face as a country in a very turbulent world. There are issues in both hemispheres and on every continent. And so I would ask this of your opponent, and I would ask this of any candidate running for federal office who is here. What are your concerns about national security? What matters to you, and what do you think our country should be doing differently or better? Thank you.
Yep. Thank you, David, for the questions. And thank you for the shout out about running. I said this in the primary quite a bit, and I continue to say it to this day. It does take a lot of courage to put yourself out there and to run for office. But I think that our democracy is built on debate. It's built on those conversations as we work to select our leaders, whether it's primaries within your own party or whether it is leading up to a general election. So I am with you, and I encourage everybody to do something. I don't care if it's the doctor, the President of the United States, or anything in between. Passion, and please continue to lead in your communities. When it comes to national security, well, I think that strong international relationships are good for peace. They're also good for our prosperity. And I am focused on that. I think that as part of being a United States Senator, it's solemn decisions that we make, whether it is to send our sons and daughters into harm's way or the diplomacy that we take. But I think for us as a country, I want to see us get back into building those global relationships for jobs, certainly for our Iowa industries, but for our national security. I will tell you, I certainly am a mother of a son in the military. And I tell you this because I want you to understand how serious I take these relationships. I'll never forget his first deployment. I got woke up in the middle of the night to a text that said, just crossed US airspace. Call you when I get home. You know, I want every family to get those kinds of calls. And I want to know, as a US Senator, I want to understand the goals of our foreign policy. I want to understand our strategies. I want to understand and invest in diplomacy. And I want to get back into building those relationships. Because just like success at the city level, we aren't going to have success on the global level if we don't have all the parties that are involved at the table when it comes to building peaceful agreements around the world. So thank you, David.
Theresa, we have a question from our email from Sharon Vickery. And I'm reading this, so I need some bifocals evidently. I've heard from many reliable news sources that you have not traveled to all 99 counties in person to meet with Iowa residents. However, your competitor has. I support public health and safety is important. However, don't you think it will be critical for your success to have more in-person, face-to-face meetings?
Well, Sharon, thanks for zooming in like me today. I know that with the pandemic, that certainly has been something we all are doing more and more of. That's for sure. We have done well over 250 events around this state. Many of them in person, some of them electronically. We have chosen to be very careful when it comes to public health and public safety. But I will tell you, we've had events for all Iowans. We've had Iowans from all 99 counties join in. And we're going to continue to host events. Some of them we will be traveling in person. Many of them will be continuing to do Zoom events like the one today, and continue to be listening and learning so that I can lead best as your next United States Senator. Thanks, Sharon.
This is turning into the kiddie show, but it's not my question. This is from Kent Sauverd, and he says, as a military mom, I'm guessing you are up to speed about the mental health crisis among military veterans and the tragic impacts of these mental health issues on their families and communities. For example, suicide among active duty personnel and veterans is almost epidemic in its scope. What are your concerns related to mental health issues among our military personnel, veterans, and the impacts on their families? Do you have any policy positions or proposals related to these issues? Thank you for running for public office. Kent.
Thank you, Kent, and thanks for calling in or Zooming in or however you're in on today's meeting. I appreciate it, and I hope that you and everyone there, of course, are doing well. Absolutely, when it comes to mental health across the state, for everyone, it is a serious, serious concern for our entire population. We absolutely do not have the resources we need in Iowa, whether it's mental health medical professionals, whether it's mental health facilities and providers. And unfortunately, we have seen that our criminal justice system, our jails, have become a place where we're working hard to care for people who are in crisis. And we have to change that investment, and we have to change it for our veterans too. Because as you said, their suicide rate is unbelievably high compared to the rest of the population. One of the things that I believe this administration has done well in this crisis is to expand telehealth. And I think that it is fundamental that we keep telehealth, particularly with veterans, the groups I talk to, the limited resources we have in the state, being able to access professionals, whether it's mental health professionals or others, through a telehealth investment is critically important. But then we also have to continue to make the VA system more efficient. Honestly, the complaint I hear is long wait times, too much paperwork, and oftentimes, if not always, when someone is in need of mental health care, they're in a crisis, and those wait times are not adequate. They need care now. So we do need to be making those investments for our veterans and, frankly, for all Iowans, because mental health is a serious issue across this state. Thanks, Kent.
I don't.
Don't be shy.
Does it work? Okay.
I can hear you.
Okay. Hi. My name is Skeet Wooten, and I too am in the hood. And I want to pivot to economics. We have spent about 30% of GDP on bailouts and recovery efforts for COVID. There's another $2.2 trillion pending, perhaps, that will be approved by this Congress going forward. Oh, by the way, happy Government New Year, which is today. And we're going to have to pay off this at some point in time. You talk a lot about investments, which is government spending. At what point do we say we cannot afford this? There are some that would argue that we are at or perhaps even beyond that point currently. So I'm curious what you think your monetary policy is. How do we continue to run up these deficits and debt numbers? And how can we do that and continue to create prosperity for this country? Thank you.
Well, thank you, Steve. I didn't know about, what did you call it, Government New Year? I got to look that one up. So thank you so much. You know, I'll tell you, I certainly understand making hay while the sun shines. And I've run small businesses, and I understand balancing the books. I also understand investing as a way to grow. And certainly, what does that mean for our national debt? Well, first and foremost, I certainly wouldn't do what Senator Ernst has done, which is vote for a tax bill during an expansion that increased our debt $2 trillion, making it more difficult for us during a downturn to really deal with that debt. We have a crisis in front of us, and I think investing in infrastructure is something we should have been doing before this crisis, and it's something I won't shy away from as part of this crisis, because if we're going to robustly grow our economy, we need to level that playing field. Because I'll tell you, China right now, they're building about 200 airports over the next 15 years. They're investing in 3,000 miles a year in high-speed rail. And here we are with corn at about $3.30 a bushel, which is going out of business prices. We don't have an infrastructure plan. We're fighting about keeping the post office open, and we've got too many school kids and farmers and portions of our state that don't have access to high-speed internet. And I think that if we want to compete in this global economy and win, we've got to start making those investments. Things we can do. Well, I'll tell you, here's just an idea. One, we can require Medicare to negotiate for prescription drug costs, something I know Senator Ernst opposes. It'll put a few bucks right back in our seniors' pockets, but it'll also save us $500 billion. And we have to look at all those kinds of decisions because we can do them, and it is good for our bottom line. In my opinion, we absolutely need to end all of the loopholes that have allowed our businesses to ship jobs overseas. I'll tell you what, I want those jobs back here. Again, we've lost 33,000 jobs in Iowa to China. I want those jobs back here, creating energy and building a stronger economy here in the States. And I'll give you one more little fun fact. You know, we got to stop tax credits to big pharma so they can run TV ads. So I think there's lots we can do with efficiencies and investments. that will help us raise revenues but decrease some of these expenses. But I'm with you. We absolutely have to take a look at our debt and our deficit. So, Steve, thank you for coming to the microphone today with that question.
Theresa, hello. Sean Mullen. I don't live in the hood, but darn near close to it. First of all, thank you for joining us today and having the opportunity to visit with you. I'm president of a small engineered fire protection systems company serving the states of Iowa and Nebraska. We have about 60 employees. Today, October 1st, marks the 9th straight year our company has paid double-digit increases in our health insurance program. We're a small group, but every year we have seen anywhere from 12 to 19%. This year we were lucky, 16% increase. I am not proud to say that our health insurance provider is now the second leading vendor to our company. We're actually spending more for health insurance than we are for fire protection equipment. And I'm just kind of curious, if that trend continues, I will no longer be in the fire protection business. I will be in the provision of healthcare insurance, which I won't be able to afford. It's an important benefit, but I'd be interested in your thoughts for small businesses like ours on how we can mitigate some of these colossal increases that just don't seem to abate.
Yeah. Sean, thank you very much. Certainly, as running small businesses, I saw those exact same increases on a very regular basis. And I think that they're unsustainable. It's one of the many reasons that healthcare is the number one topic I hear about. And whether it's individuals, whether it's a farmer up in Floyd County who told me they're paying $26,000 a year for their premiums with a $5,000 deductible, whether it's your small business. We have to tackle healthcare and the costs. I think one of the things that will be effective is building in a public option for providing healthcare for all of us. One, it'll create competition with the goal of driving down those costs. Two, it will make sure that there is an option for everyone to buy into or qualify for healthcare. And for so many small businesses that struggle to be responsible for providing that health care and may not be able to, the public option is there. COVID certainly has shown what happens when people have been laid off and they've lost their employer-based health insurance and they have no other place to go. And yet they still need health care. We all do. Good health is priceless. But unfortunately, right now, it costs too much. So I'm looking forward to working with you and working to make sure that we enhance, we strengthen, we rebuild our healthcare system to bring down those costs and make sure that folks still have access to affordable healthcare. Thanks, Steve.
Is this on? Yep. Hi, Theresa. Bob again. Good to see you. Thank you for running. What's your view on climate change, and how should our government be approaching it? Thank you.
Okay. Bob, thank you very much. You forgot to mention if you live in the hood or not.
No, I don't. West Des Moines.
All right. Well, Iowa is, I always say all the time, we're a state of small towns. I think everybody in your town, even here in Des Moines. Bob, I won't hold that against you that you don't live in the hood. When it comes to climate change, we have to confront climate change, and I think we have to take urgent action. Certainly from 2016 till now, as I've been involved in politics around the state, and getting the chance to talk to folks. In 2016, I heard about climate change maybe 25% of the time. Today, and Bob, you just proved it again, it is a question, it's a comment, it's a concern. Every single meeting I attend, every single one of them. Iowans know what climate change looks like. Maybe we used to just think it was fires in California or hurricanes in the South. But we have seen the flooding in Southeast Iowa, Southwest Iowa. And by the way, I visited Pacific Junction and other places and have seen, the damage of 9 feet of water in a family's home where, their hopes and dreams have been devastated. I've seen the hundreds of thousands of acres of crop and ag land that was unusable and unplantable because of flooding. And farmers honestly will tell you, they know what climate change looks like too. Their planting window has narrowed up. They're dealing with higher temperatures, higher humidities that affect germination and pollination. And so we all have concerns. And of course, Cedar Rapids, who was hit so hard by the derecho, that's their third significant catastrophic event in just a little over 10 years, maybe 12 altogether. And so we need to take climate action. For me, I think it starts with, one, we have a man-made global climate crisis. We need to believe that science, and we need to act globally and get back into agreements for our globe. But then secondly, I am mostly interested in Iowa. I want to know what we can do to be leaders, job creators, economy builders in Iowa. And we have so many assets here that I think we can leverage to reach our international goals and do our part in that. Let's just talk about wind for a minute. I believe we're up to providing about 50% of our electricity via wind. These are large corporate wind farms, but many of them are real small community farms where local investors have invested in 5 or 8 or 7 turbines and are generating profitability in their rural areas and building rural economies. So continuing to invest in our wind and then exporting it across the country will do a whole lot towards reducing our carbon footprint, but growing Iowa's economy. And then 2, and again, this is not the only thing, but I think we have a real asset called all of the millions of acres that we have cultivated in this state. And I have talked a lot about it, and you can read about it in my Fair Shot for Farmers plan, investing in conservation. I want it to be a new commodity. I would like the United States to be the first net zero ag industry and country in the nation. But if we invest in that kind of conservation across all of our acres, we can sequester carbon at a rate that will make a difference, tackling climate change and creating economic opportunity by making that kind of investment the new commodity in the rural areas. And it doesn't stop there. We've got to do research on our biofuels industry, which I'm pretty bullish on. Where else, what can we do, whether it's shipping or aviation? The conservation element of it will help move those to being a low carbon fuel. And then I want to invest in bio-based manufacturing. I want to know for the next 50 years, what else can we do here in Iowa? What can we grow? What do we manufacture it into? And how is it done in an environmentally friendly way? And I want that to happen right here. The other thing that really excites me about renewable energy economy is one, it's going to lead our rural areas in particular to added prosperity. And these are areas like my hometown, which suffered from the farm crisis and have seen nothing but economic decline since, with schools closing and grocery stores closing, manufacturers closing. They struggle. And I know too many people across this state who don't have a grocery store, and they drive 20 minutes to get groceries or go to their faith community or church or get healthcare in a hospital. And so I see the green economy, the renewable economy, as one way to rebuild our rural economy also. Thanks, Bob.
All right, I think we're out of time for questions. Thank you, Theresa, for being with our club today virtually and for your informative presentation.
Where are you at? Okay. Please be well, and I appreciate introduce myself. I can't read.
And today, Theresa, we are donating the book Women Win the Vote to the Downtown School Library in honor of you being our speaker today. So very fitting title. Sometimes our book titles aren't too fitting or fall in line with the speaker, but this time it does, so we're very fortunate. Thank you everyone for being out there with us in person today or on the streaming YouTube channel. And I just want to mention that Kitty has been rather nervous this week about getting this pulled together. We had to switch platforms here last couple of days on what we thought the virtual meeting was going to be. We didn't know we were going to have a virtual meeting with Theresa until yesterday, I believe. So between her and Invictus, who did a fantastic job, the professionals that they are, they got all those zeros and ones in the correct order and spread around the world. So I think both Kitty and Invictus deserve a round of applause. And Kitty's going to sleep much better tonight, I'm sure. For those of you out there watching on YouTube, there are 35 of us here today in the room, all safely distanced. We hope more of you will consider joining us live, and that is only if you feel comfortable doing so. So with 35 people here, we can double our occupancy here based on what Wakanda will allow us to do. So hopefully we can continue to push that number closer to 70. And please remember, you need to RSVP if you do want to attend here in person with us, and those are due on Tuesday. You can sign up on the email link that goes out on Fridays, or you can do it in Tuesday's email newsletter. And we have upcoming meetings. Next week, Barbara Stinson, the World Food Prize, with a special cameo appearance from Ambassador Ken Quinn, honorary member of the Rotary Club of Des Moines. These two speakers will also be joining us by Skype next week. We didn't want to cancel them because they were unable to be here in person, so we're going to go ahead and go forward and bring them virtually rather than rescheduling the program that we've been promoting the last several weeks. October 15th, Joni Ernst will be here at the Wakanda Club. Currently, she plans on being here in person. And October 22nd, Jason Andrig, President and CEO of some little mom and pop shop down in some Pella? Okay, I was getting there. This is a rough crowd today. But Vermeer Corporation, family business that's done rather well here in Iowa. And we will be here in person at the Wakanda Club. Again, thank you for being with us today, either here live or out there in cyberspace. And those of you who will be tuning in later to watch it on YouTube at time of your choosing. And remember, today and until we meet again, to leave something behind, no matter how big or small. Something you might want to think about leaving behind is a little bit of money to buy some coats for some children in need. So with that, one other thing. I am a member of the Hood. So in case you are elected, Theresa, I don't think that gives you the right to share the secret neighborhood handshake. So with that, we are adjourned.